I think the simple answer, the short answer is, I love Henderson. It's my home. It's the place that my wife and I have chosen to raise our children. And I want it to continue to be safe, and I want to participate in that. I want to help that process. Right. And so,
welcome everybody to WWDB TV's Meet the Candidate. We do this in association with our Nevada judges. And today I'm fortunate, I've got Jeremy Cooley, right?
Yes.
And you are a sitting judge in Henderson.
That's right.
For the Municipal Court Department 2.
That is correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were appointed to that position in 2021.
100% right.
So this is your first time facing the voters, or,
yes.
or having to go through the election process. So
yes, that's absolutely right. I was appointed unanimously by Mayor and Council, and right back up for election.
Unanimously, I understand as well, right?
Yes.
So cool.
That's correct.
When you were appointed, is that something that you volunteer for, or is it something that you're approached on? They come to you and say, "Hey, we'd like you to, be considered as a judge here," or do you have to fill out some paperwork and say, "Hey, if an opening comes, I'd like to do that"?
Right. Good question. I did have people approach me during the process, but ultimately the formal process that the City Council chose was to open it up for interest letters and resumes.
Right. Okay.
And then the city staff determined which of those people who submitted qualified.
Right.
Ultimately, there were 8 people that did, and they decided once they had those 8 individuals, their letters, their resumes, they reviewed those and did a background on them, and then they did a rank voting in a City Council meeting. I came out as the highest score earner there.
Great.
And there was another individual that had a similar score to me. And so they put us, the 2 of us, through as finalists to the next City Council meeting.
Right.
And they did a public interview in the next City Council meeting. And after interviewing us,
when you say, excuse me for interrupting, but when you say a public interview, they interviewed you in public, or they let the public interview you?
Great question. They interviewed us in public.
Okay, in public, so everybody
during
can
the
see.
council meeting. It was one of the agenda items.
Right.
And so after that process, then they once more cast their votes, and I was unanimously appointed.
Great. I think that's a great concept, by the way. I mean, it rather than doing it behind closed doors, and gives the public a chance to see the kind of questions that you're asked, and know a little bit more about you, rather than just, oh yeah, he just got appointed. Who's this guy? I don't know. So what made you? I asked this question of everyone. Why the hell would you want to be a judge? I mean, in my book, that's the last thing I would want to do. You are making decisions about people's lives every day, and it's got to be tough. I mean, it really has to be a tough job. It's
challenging, no doubt about it. It is challenging, and I think the simple answer, the short answer is, I love Henderson. It's my home. It's the place that my wife and I have chosen to raise our children. And I want it to continue to be safe, and I want to participate in that. I want to help that process. Right. And so for me, bottom line, it's because I want to help the community. I love the city of Henderson. There's some other components to that, right? I've chosen public service as my profession.
Right.
I started my legal career in the private sector, in private practice, and didn't stay long, about 2 years, and then I moved to the city of Henderson in the city attorney's office as a prosecutor,
right?
Because I wanted to have that community connection and feel like I'm contributing, right? I'm doing something more than fighting over a contract or having a private legal squabble. And I'm not trying to minimize that. That's valuable, needed, necessary work. But to me, I had more personal fulfillment in the public sector and public service, and this is a continuation of that. And this is a way to have a broader impact than as a prosecutor. The second part is that I preside over a drug court. And the judge that retired and that I replaced, he started this drug court in 2008. It's the ABC drug court.
Right.
And I wanted to see that continue. There was no obligation for Judge Hedger, who started the program, to have the program. There's no legal obligation or requirement to do it. He was doing it in addition to the regular criminal caseload he saw. And I'm doing that as well. I don't have to continue it. I wanted to.
So it's like a diversion program for misdemeanor drug offenders. Is that correct?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yes.
And is Henderson also still doing the Veterans Court?
It is.
I mean, Henderson is where that originated, if I'm not mistaken.
You're absolutely right, with Judge Stevens.
Yes.
And so I was a staff member in the ABC Drug Court for 5 years before I
Right.
was appointed to the bench. And I was in the Veterans Court, the prosecutor part, for about 1.5 years with Judge Stevens before that. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that was, as a veteran myself, of course, I think that, and I don't mean this to sound elitist or anything like that, but as a veteran, you sometimes face different problems than someone who has not been a veteran. And you've had different experiences that can cause you to make decisions that aren't always the best. And so when when they started the Veterans Court out there, I thought it was. But that's also those are only for nonviolent crimes. Am I correct there?
partially correct.
Okay.
And first, let me say thank you for your service, John. That is.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's great. I've grown much more admiration for the veterans through that process of serving in the Veterans Treatment Court and seeing what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
That there's a lot of trauma that people experience in connection with their service, and I totally agree. They should be given the opportunity to have this diversion. And there are restrictions in the Veterans Treatment Court about who can go in that program, and violence is part of that restriction. Right. The law's changed on that, so the limitations are fewer now than they used to be. For the ABC Drug Court, we're a federally grant-funded program, and so we have some restrictions, not based on Nevada law, but on the conditions of that grant. And one of them is that they can't be a convicted felon of a violent crime.
Gotcha.
So that's where we get some of our violently related restrictions.
Well, hopefully you can get a hold of them before that, before that situation happens. So in municipal court now in Las Vegas, I know you have your judicial court, you have a district court, and what types of people do you see in front of you as a municipal court judge?
So it'd be just the same as Las Vegas, but we have the Henderson Municipal Court, and we hear all cases, misdemeanor cases, within the jurisdiction, city limits of Henderson. Right. If it's a gross misdemeanor or a felony, those cases would go to the Henderson Justice Court. Right. If they, originated from that township, from that area, and then cases that go to trial ultimately, gross misdemeanors or felonies, that's how they get to the district court.
So, as a former prosecutor, do you think that gives you a different slant on sitting on the bench than maybe if you had been a public defender?
Well, certainly a different perspective. I mean, there's no doubt about that. There's no getting away from that, right? My perspective would be somewhat different than someone who had only served as a public defender or a private defense attorney, right? I think you develop a little bit of a perspective. But I've seen great judges who have a public defender background, great judges who have a private defense attorney background, and judges who don't have much criminal background at all, but they have a lot of legal experience and some experience in the criminal realm. Right. So certainly there's something about the perspective that I have, but I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of Nevada, the ordinances of the city of Henderson. I take that very seriously. And
we've only met just a few minutes ago, but you seem to you're kind of a positive person.
I appreciate that. I try very hard to do that.
I was going to say, is it difficult because you are, for the most part, seeing people at their worst in the courtroom? I mean, the people that come in front of you, they've supposedly or allegedly done something wrong, and you got to make a decision whether, they did do it or they didn't do it or whatever, or you got to pass some judgment, and you're basically affecting them for the rest of their lives.
Right. That's the job. It's not. It's not always fun. Right. It's not always fun,
but somebody's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it, and I strongly believe that regardless of who you are in the courtroom, if you're part of the court staff, you're one of the attorneys, counsel on the case, You're the marshal, you're the law enforcement, you're a member of the public just there to observe the proceeding, or you're the defendant, you're the victim of a crime. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, and I 100% believe that. And there's no reason for me to in any way berate someone or belittle someone. The sentence that they might be getting is going to be the punishment.
Right.
And that's going to be punishment
Right.
enough. And so if there's anything I can do to leave someone with a just a little bit better feeling about things, or I'm a firm believer in personal accountability, that we have the ability to make decisions and affect our own lives.
Sure.
And I've chosen to try the best I can to be positive about things, and hopefully I can influence other people that way too, even in the worst situations, because we all have adversity in our lives. That's part of life.
So judges have a certain amount of flexibility, if you will, in a particular crime or a particular situation. You can you can be from, and I'm just picking numbers and things out of the air, from 1 year to 10 years in prison for doing whatever. And I know you're doing misdemeanors, so
Yes.
but it is that. Do you think that's a good thing?
I do.
Do you?
I do. And I think that's should give the public even more incentive to be careful about who they choose, who they
Right.
vote for, because there is a lot of discretion, and I think that's correct. For a municipal court judge, for a misdemeanor,
Right.
the sentencing range is no jail time on the one extreme end and 6 months in jail
Right.
on the other extreme, and that's the maximum penalty. So there's a wide discretion, but as long as our judges are doing their job, and I think by and large they are. I think by and large we have good judges here in the city of Henderson.
I agree with you for the most part. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to sit in some courtrooms, and there's a few that remind me of Judge Judy, But I was impressed at the majority of the ones that I experienced. Treated everyone that came before them with respect.
Yes.
And not didn't treat them like scum. They treated them like human beings, and they were. I thought the sentencing and everything that was done was I guess the term is firm but fair, and it restores my faith a little bit, So.
And I think that discretion is important because you have to take so many factors into consideration, right?
Yeah.
Not only the facts of the case or the facts that make up the crime, right? But that person's life, their criminal history, if they have any, their experience, there may be the reasons for doing what they did, and their aspirations for their life, what they're trying to do despite what may have been
Right.
an outlier in their life or a mistake that they recognize, whether there's any remorse or not. I think all those things should be taken into consideration, which could result in a wide range of appropriate penalties.
Have you ever given any thought to alternatives to incarceration? Because to me there's situations where that absolutely is called for, and that's what you got to do. But I also think that there might be, and I don't know, I'm not an expert, that's why I'm asking you, there might be alternatives. We have like the ABC drug program, the veterans thing, for the misdemeanors, and there's got to be a better way
Yes.
that we can help turn some of these people around. Some of them you're not going to turn around, and some of them, just going to fall through the cracks. But
I agree. I'm a firm believer. Otherwise, I wouldn't be running the ABC drug court, because
Right.
that's what that's all about. The whole model is based on, let's give this person a chance to come out of custody, because most of them, based on, if you just went on their record and the crime they committed, most of their records are very lengthy. And so the appropriate sentence, or the most common sentence they'd be given, is a lot of times close to that 180 range.
Right.
But we give them a chance. Let's bring you out of custody. Let's put you in sober living. Let's monitor you closely. Let's have you come to court every week. Let's randomly drug test you. Let's put you on a curfew and have you either go inpatient drug treatment or outpatient, but intensive outpatient. Let's follow it up with the appropriate aftercare. Let's have you go to meetings every week. Let's give you those life skills that you didn't have the opportunity to get because you've been homeless living in the desert a lot of times for
Right.
the last 10, 15, 20 years. And they know if they don't succeed in the drug court, most likely they're going to serve that sentence.
Right.
It's not a we'll give you a shot and then we'll follow up later. It's if you don't complete the program, there's a big consequence waiting for you.
What kind of a success rate are you having with that? I mean, I think the term is recidivism.
Yes.
You know, how many repeat people do you see coming back through there?
Yes. Very good question. So there have been, I'm fairly confident, I believe in the history of the ABC Drug Court, there have been 76 graduates. And
I'm sorry, 76?
76
Okay.
graduates. And they looked at 10 years after the graduation. In that 10 years, how many picked up a new case, committed a new crime?
Right.
88% remained arrest-free
Wow.
10 years after the graduation. And these are people who have lengthy criminal histories. So they're getting arrested once, twice, 3, 4 times a year up until the time they go into the program. So it's had tremendous success.
That
Tremendous success.
88% on something like that is that's better than AA.
Yes. Well, AA is a big part of it.
Yeah,
We
no. But
believe
I'm
in-
saying that's and I think that just the fact that we have those types of programs, gives me a little bit of faith, I guess. So, what do you like most about being a judge? What's the thing that you just go home at night and you go, yeah,
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's the ABC Drug Court.
Yeah.
It's the ABC Drug. That's the easiest to feel good about. Now I will say, and Judge Hedger, maybe he would see this. I was pretty skeptical of the program when I first came to the prosecutor's office.
Right.
And there was a little bit of a negative sentiment in the courthouse about it, that we're wasting time, we're wasting resources, and giving these people a break. They don't deserve it.
Right.
It's not very successful. Not many people make it through the program. And I remember early on, I went to a graduation. Someone was graduating, and these people, they're in the program for 18 months, sometimes 2 years before they qualify.
I didn't
to
realize it
graduate.
was that long.
It's not short.
Yeah, I thought it was like 6 months or something.
No,
so
it's not short. So it's not a break.
Yeah.
It's not a break. But this particular graduation, there were 3 people graduating. And one of the individuals I still remember, he was very articulate, and he explained his mindset in a very detailed way the day he got arrested for the last time, and just described how he had no hope. He had no hope for the rest, and he was a fairly young man. I think he was in his 20s
Yeah.
when he got arrested for that last time. No hope for his life, no hope for his future. He would rather just die. He didn't care. He got arrested. He wasn't sure if he wanted the program. He thought about it, went back and forth, ultimately took the program, went through it for about 18 months, graduated, and he talked about his mindset at graduation. He had his fiance there and his child there. He had a job. He had goals and plans for the future, and just 100% different. And I remember just being
that makes it all worthwhile.
very affected. And that's what I told Judge Hedger. I said, I know he's not your only graduate, but if he was, in my opinion, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
Whatever's been spent, whatever time's been invested, it's all worth it because his life was changed. And that's what the program does.
Every person out there, when they have a success or they can turn their life around, makes it better for all the rest of us.
Yes.
And that's, to me, that's what our justice system, and I'm not putting the justice system down. I mean, we have our faults, or you have your faults, or whatever. But you also have a lot of good points, but I think that I guess the younger people coming up. There's a lot of talk about millennials and Gen Xers and all that crap. But this generation coming up, I've had a chance to have some of them in the studio and talk with them. I feel better about them. I haven't felt this good about a generation coming up since the 60s, because that's where the changes happen, is with the young people. Not the old people like
Right.
us. We're set in our ways. It's the young people that turn this world around and make it a better place. And I see that happening. And I don't know if you do in the courtroom, but it's gratifying, and it's like, okay, we got some hope here,
Well, I love finding reasons for hope. And just let me say so the voters know, our system isn't perfect. I don't believe that it is.
No,
But it's the greatest criminal justice system in the world, and I firmly believe that. So, like anything, we should always be finding ways to improve it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you know, and you hear people say, well, you know, if you don't like it, leave, go someplace else. No, if you don't like it and it's not working, fix it. You know, do something to make it better. Don't just bitch about it. Sorry for the rant. I get carried away.
And that's the way I feel about the drug court, you know, because anyone who spent any time in Clark County knows that we have a serious problem with homelessness,
Yeah.
mental health resources, and addiction. And this ABC drug court, on a small scale, relatively speaking, you know, we're not going to solve the homeless problem or mental health problem, but we're doing something about it.
Right.
We're addressing it the way that we can.
Hey, you got 76 people you turned around.
And we gave a whole lot more people a chance too, a whole lot more.
Yeah. So what's the worst part? What's the one that goes, oh God, not again?
The worst part is when it's clear someone needs help, whether that's in the ABC program or outside of it, just on the regular criminal docket.
Right.
It's clear they need help and they're offered help and they won't take it. And that's when, in my opinion, that's when you get to the point of there's no alternative.
Right.
Because of their criminal history, because of the current allegations and crime, there's no alternative, and you're going to spend some time in custody and maybe a significant amount of time. That's the worst part.
Cool.
And the other thing I would say, maybe definitely secondary, but it's not having the resources to do all the good you could. We could help more people if we had more resources and more funding. And so that's something that I'll be striving for down the road and working for to secure more resources so we can help more people. But it's a challenge.
One of the things that I found interesting is that in some of the judges that I've met, they do a lot of extracurricular activities outside of the court. You know, whether it's coaching sports or they're involved in the community, and they're not just, you know, in their little bubble in the legal thing. There's some good stuff going on that I don't think people are aware of, and that's one of the reasons that, you know, I wanted to do this. Is to let those people know that these are the kind of people that you want sitting on the bench, because they are members of our community, they are involved in the community, and they're out there trying to make a difference and make things better. And those are the kind of people I look for, and that's the ones I want to vote for. So, because if they can do that outside the court, they're probably going to be doing the same thing inside the court. So, anyway, and that was not a setup, but do you have any activities outside that you do? I mean, are there any? I mean, I know the ABC drug court is kind of a outside of your normal everyday perspective, but anything else that you kind of?
Thank you for the setup, John. Yeah, so I have young children, and oldest is 15, youngest is a year and a half, and so we are very active. I'm very active in the community. My family's very active in the community.
So you spend all your free days at the parks for practice? And
yes, they're all involved in sports and other activities. We're very involved in our church as well. I've had a lot of roles there, not just parishioner, but teacher and speaker. And so, yes, we're very involved in the community and love to help when I can with the coaching and bringing things for the kids on game day, that sort of thing. But we are most definitely out there.
When my sons were growing up, that's why I know, you know, they played baseball, and so I coached one of the teams, and you know, and then the next year I'd coach the other son's team. But we did that, you know, during the seasons. That's where our time was spent all the time, and those kids, all of the kids on the team, you know, seeing them catch a ball for the first time or get a hit for the first time, and they're just like your own kids. You know, they become part of your family, and, you know, you just see them progressing and growing, and it's, you know, it's an awesome feeling. So I can dig it.
I mean, sporting activities, I think, is a great way to prepare children for life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because the adversity we talked about before, they're going to experience that in sports, in a controlled
and,
manner.
and learn to play on a team.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that I think is awesome is that we have more and more young ladies that are participating in sports, because in my generation, boys growing up learned that teamwork and how to, do things together. The girls didn't have that so much. So they had to learn that some other way that we were taught, hey, if you all work together, you can accomplish this goal. And they were kind of out there on their own. So I think they're getting that opportunity. And anyway.
Thank goodness times have changed, right? And are changing.
Yeah.
Give everyone an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything that you'd like to say to the voters out there to make them vote for you? And this is your opportunity.
Okay.
They're all out there. They're listening.
Absolutely. I'd love to have your vote, number one. As I indicated, I was served as a prosecutor in the city of Henderson. I did that for over 11 years. In that time, I handled thousands of cases and conducted over 200 trials. So I have a lot of experience in the criminal arena. In that time, I was in the Henderson Municipal Court every day.
Right.
And so it wasn't a dramatic transition going to a different seat in the same courtroom.
Right, you're just going on the other side of the bench.
Still there
Yeah.
every day. And so I enjoy a broad base of support and city leaderships and endorsements. And so I think I'm the clear choice, and I want to continue the good work that I'm doing. And so I hope the voters give me that chance. My website is www.electjudgecooley.com, and I'm all for voters educating themselves. I think that's very important. Any information that you'd like about me, I think it's going to be there on the website. I'm also on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. So I think it's easy to find information about me, the information the voters would want to know about making the decision about who should be in that seat in the Henderson Municipal Court. So I hope to visit my site and get the information that they need.
Great. Vote all the way down the ticket, all the way down to the bottom of the ballot. These people affect your everyday lives. Your city council people, your public administrator, the treasurers, all of these people, the judges, they affect your day-to-day life. And if you don't vote for them, you're going to have one or two people out of a group making a decision for everybody else. We don't want that. We want you to make a decision on your own lives. And the idea is to inform you, the voters, of who's running for office and what they're all about and why you should vote for them. So we give them a chance to come in, and they don't pay or anything. We're not getting any money from them. They just come out here and do it on their own, and it's our way of kind of giving back to the community as well. So thank you again for watching, and send your cards and letters here. And if you got anybody out there that would like to come in and tell us why we should vote for them, you know how to get a hold of us. And like I always say, if you're going to do it with Stiles. Thanks.